I've missed you.
I've missed you too,
We'll make it work.
together.
The wind rolled like a restless spirit across the wide golden fields of Willow Creek Ranch, carrying with it the scent of dry hay, leather, and something deeper, loneliness. The ranch belonged to Daniel Hayes, the wealthiest cattle owner in the county, a man whose name commanded respect from bankers, sheriffs, and even rival ranchers across Texas. But wealth had not shielded him from loss. 2 years earlier, his beloved wife, Margaret, had passed away after a sudden illness, leaving behind 2 young boys, Ethan, age 8, and Caleb, age 6. Since that day, the Grand Hayes mansion, once filled with laughter and piano music, had become unbearably quiet. Daniel could manage thousands of acres of land, negotiate cattle prices with ruthless precision, and command dozens of ranch hands with a single look. But he could not figure out how to soothe a child crying in the middle of the night, asking why mommy wasn't coming back. Across town, in a small rented room above a closed-down bakery, lived Clara Bennett, a gentle schoolteacher whose kindness was far richer than her empty purse. Clara had arrived in Willow Creek only months ago, hired to replace the previous elementary teacher who had married and moved away. She earned barely enough to pay rent and often skipped meals so she could buy books and art supplies for her students. Clara had grown up in hardship, raised by a single mother who had worked tirelessly until illness took her away when Clara was just 19. Since then, Clara had promised herself she would create a safe place for children, a classroom filled with warmth and understanding. Yet outside those classroom walls, she had no one. When the bakery owner decided to sell the building, Clara was given 30 days to find a new place to live. 30 days she could not afford. Their worlds collided on an ordinary Tuesday morning. Ethan Hayes had gotten into a fight at school, shoving another boy who mocked him for crying during reading hour. Clara had knelt beside him after class, her voice soft but firm. "It's okay to miss someone," she had told him gently. "But hurting others won't heal your heart." Ethan's stubborn glare slowly melted, replaced by silent tears. That afternoon, Daniel Hayes stormed into the classroom, boots thudding against the wooden floor, hat in hand, jaw tight. He expected complaints, perhaps accusations. Instead, he found his son sitting calmly beside Clara, coloring quietly. Clara stood to greet him, nervous but composed. She explained what had happened, not to blame Ethan, but to help him. Daniel noticed something he hadn't seen in months. His son looked peaceful. Over the following weeks, Clara became a steady presence in the boys' lives. She offered extra tutoring after school, though she never charged a cent. She brought homemade cookies, sometimes made from borrowed ingredients, to lift their spirits. Ethan began to smile more. Caleb stopped waking up screaming at night. Daniel watched this transformation with cautious gratitude. He told himself it was only temporary, that teachers come and go. But one evening, when he overheard his sons laughing at the dinner table while recounting Clara's silly classroom jokes, he felt something crack inside his guarded heart. It wasn't romantic longing, not yet. It was recognition. His sons needed more than a ranch full of wealth. They needed tenderness. Meanwhile, Clara's eviction deadline loomed like a dark cloud. She searched for affordable housing but found nothing she could afford. Pride kept her from asking for help. On the night before she was supposed to vacate her room, a thunderstorm struck Willow Creek. Rain poured mercilessly, soaking her few belongings as she carried them down the narrow staircase. Daniel happened to drive past the bakery building on his way back from inspecting fences damaged by the storm. His headlights caught sight of Clara struggling in the rain, her small figure dwarfed by the storm. He stopped the truck immediately. Without a word, he stepped out and carried her boxes to the dry safety of his vehicle. Clara protested weakly, embarrassed, but exhaustion overtook her. They sat in silence inside the truck as rain hammered against the windshield. Daniel finally spoke, his voice steady but unusually vulnerable. "Miss Bennett." "Clara, I've been thinking." She looked at him cautiously. "My boys need a mother. Not someone to replace Margaret, but someone who can love them. Someone kind, someone patient." Her heart skipped. He continued, choosing his words carefully. "You need shelter. A place where you don't have to fight storms alone. I can offer you security. A home. Stability." Clara's breath caught. She understood what he was implying before he said it plainly. "Marry me." The proposal was not wrapped in romance or flowers. It was a practical arrangement spoken beneath flashing lightning. Clara's mind raced. Marry a man she barely knew. Live in a mansion as a wife in name. But then she thought of Ethan's shy smile, Caleb's warm hugs, the emptiness awaiting her if she refused. I won't be a nanny with a ring, she said quietly. If I agree, I will love those boys as my own. But I need respect, not charity. Daniel met her gaze firmly. You'll have it. Their marriage was simple, held in the small wooden church at the edge of town. Some townsfolk whispered that it was an arrangement of convenience. Others pitied Clara, assuming she married for wealth. But inside the Hayes mansion, something remarkable began to grow. Clara filled the silent halls with laughter. She placed fresh flowers in Margaret's old vases, not to erase her memory but to honor it. She read bedtime stories in silly voices, organized picnics by the creek, and insisted Daniel join them instead of burying himself in paperwork. At first, Daniel remained distant, convinced this partnership was purely practical. Yet he found himself lingering in doorways just to watch Clara braid Caleb's hair playfully or help Ethan with arithmetic. One evening, Ethan fell ill with a high fever. Panic seized Daniel like a vice. He remembered the hospital room where Margaret had taken her last breath. Fear clouded his judgment, but Clara stayed calm, placing cool cloths on Ethan's forehead, whispering reassurances through the long night. Daniel watched as she refused to sleep, her eyes red but determined. By dawn, Ethan's fever broke. Relief washed over Daniel so powerfully he had to step outside to steady himself. He realized then that Clara's love was not part of an agreement, it was real. As seasons changed, so did Daniel's heart. He began to see Clara not as a solution but as a partner. He noticed how sunlight caught in her hair, how she hummed while cooking, how she quietly donated part of her modest teacher's salary to buy books for underprivileged children. One afternoon, he found her in Margaret's old garden, carefully replanting roses that had withered after her death. Why? He asked softly. Clara smiled. Because love deserves to bloom again. That night, Daniel approached her not with practicality but with sincerity. I married you for my sons, he admitted. But somewhere along the way, I fell in love with you. Tears filled Clara's eyes. She had feared her feelings were one-sided. In that quiet confession, their marriage transformed from arrangement to devotion. They built traditions together. Sunday pancake breakfasts, horseback rides at sunset, storytelling nights by the fireplace. The ranch thrived not just in cattle numbers but in joy. Years later, when neighbors asked Daniel what had saved his family, he would glance at Clara across the porch and simply say, "Love found us in a storm." Ethan and Caleb grew into strong, compassionate young men, shaped not only by their father's strength but by their mother's tenderness. Clara never forgot the night she stood homeless in the rain. But she no longer saw it as misfortune. It was the moment destiny opened a door she never expected. And so, dear viewers, remember this. Sometimes life's harshest storms carry the seeds of unexpected blessings. Love can begin as an agreement and grow into something extraordinary. If this story touched your heart, if you believe in second chances and love that blooms against all odds, make sure to subscribe to the channel, share this story with someone who needs hope today, and join our growing family of dreamers. Because here, every story reminds us that even in the darkest nights, a new dawn is waiting.